Welcome back to the final part of Britain's Finest Actresses. We've now seen 9 of our 10 actresses, a dazzling display of achievement in all aspects of the art. We've witnessed the intense commitment of Vanessa Redgrave, Deborah Carr's refined beauty, the passion of Peggy Ashcroft, Elizabeth Taylor's consummate screen acting, and the fragile glamour of Vivian Leigh. There's the sensual dynamism of Helen Mirren, Maggie Smith's singular blend of tragedy and comedy, the unforgettable style of Audrey Hepburn, and Julie Walters' inspired naturalism. But the one quality these actresses share is the ability to move us on the deepest human level, drawing us back again and again to the theatre and to the cinema. So it's fitting that the actress you voted as your favourite is one who has not only achieved distinction across the board, but has also become a guarantee of box office success on stage and screen. At number 1 is Judi Dench.
There's no question that I would put Judi Dench number 1.
If you watch people interviewed, not actors, just regular folk, about Judi, they don't say, oh, what an actress. They say, oh, I love her.
I love Judi Dench.
We love Judi Dench.
I have a problem with Judi Dench, and the problem is that I'm in love with her.
They love what she stands for. They recognise this thing. This light shining from within, this pulse, seems to get to people, and it's a wonderful thing.
What makes Britain great? Yes, good sort of character actress.
Her ability to empathise with other people in life is something she carries on into her art, and that's rather rare.
Starring with Judi Dench and Mrs. Brown, Billy Connolly felt like he was getting a free acting lesson.
There was a scene in it where we'd had to do the eightsome reel. The room was full of people and we're all eightsoming merrily, you know, and I was opposite her, and she was smiling over at me and I was smiling back. And I thought, oh my God, Judi Dench fancies me. What am I going to do, you know? and then ding, you know. And the next thing I knew, I was fancying her like mad. And that's when I realised what it was about being instead of acting.
I have some letters in my saddlebag. I'd like to read them.
In their first scenes together, Connolly was struck by how easily Judi Dench inhabited the role. As soon as the cameras rolled, she was Queen Victoria.
One's a very, very good scene with the letters, because that's when it gets established that we may be friends, but she's the boss. You know, because I go, here's a mail, she goes, and makes me hand them up one at a time.
You will hand them to me as I require.
Even playing a victim of Alzheimer's disease in Iris, Judi Dench startled director Richard Eyre with her instant switches in and out of character.
John Bailey, the husband, reads to her a passage from Pride and Prejudice, and she doesn't appear to be assimilating what he's reading, but then she says, I wrote.
Mr. Darcy had at first scarcely allowed her to be pretty.
I wrote.
Yes, my darling, clever cat. You wrote books.
Books. I wrote.
Judy was telling a joke. She was laughing. Then you hear my voice say, action. And then within 4 frames, which is 1/6 of a second, she's in character as Iris Murdoch in the latter stages of Alzheimer's disease. And that's just a formidable craft, skill.
Judi Dench grew up in York. Her whole family was immersed in the theatre, and her childhood was spent dressing up and performing. John White is a family friend and lifelong member of a local theatre group. He remembers Judi Dench from the 1950s revival of the medieval mystery plays in the ruins of St. Mary's Abbey.
She was playing the Virgin Mary, I was playing Adam. She was a very young girl, and I mean, one would assume that probably the Virgin Mary was around 14 years of age or whatever when Christ was born, and she filled that absolutely completely. But of course she then had later in the play, which is the challenge, to play Mary the Mother, which calls for an mature performance, which she achieved. I mean, there's no doubt about it. She was a very, very good Mary. In York, of course, she can't go wrong. I mean, there's Judi Dench walk behind you. She's part of the fabric of this city.
But it's the town of Stratford that can lay claim to some of Judi Dench's most unforgettable performances. In 1976, she led the Royal Shakespeare Company as the Queen descends into madness in Trevor Nunn's legendary black magic production of Macbeth.
The doors of the theatre would be shut and the audience could hear those doors slamming shut. And it was like, we're in here now.
When Judi Dench as Lady Macbeth says, come you spirits, unsex me here and fill me from the ground to the toe, top full of direst cruelty. And Judi Dench did it as if there were indeed spirits beneath her feet.
Come you spirits, that tend on mortal thoughts. Unsex me here and fill me from the ground to the toe, top full of direst cruelty.
At one moment, Lady Macbeth just says, come on. Sleek all your rugged looks. And Judi played it as an absolutely modern expletive. Come on.
Treason's done his worst, nor steel, nor poison, malice domestic, foul never, nothing can touch him.
Come on. Gentle, my lord, sleek o'er your rugged looks. Be bright and jovial among your guests tonight.
I think people coming out of that production would say, Shakespeare didn't write that, did he? And you go to the text and there it is. Come on. But it felt so immediate.
In 1997, Broadway audiences queued round the block for Amy's View, directed by Richard Eyre. A rare chance for Americans to hear the most distinctive voice in British theatre.
She's always had a crack in her voice. It's said that at the old Nottingham Playhouse they had to put up a sign front of house saying, warning the audience that Miss Dench didn't suffer from laryngitis.
And this little idiot starts sulking. She says, oh, come on, it's only TV. Oh, really? My God. I mean, you can say anything, but you must never say that.
It's a believable noise that she makes. It's not an acty noise.
After a while you think, where am I? Where do I fit in all this?
I know Americans think she is immense. They adore her. They look upon her as the best actress in the world.
Judi Dench is box office gold, having accumulated legions of loyal fans in every medium, from Stratford to the West End, from television sitcoms to James Bond movies, and finally, to Oscar-winning success.
It's probably the fewest days' work that she's done on a film in a long time, when she did Queen Elizabeth in Shakespeare in Love.
On screen for less than 8 minutes, Judi Dench steals her scenes with a stylish Elizabethan wit.
Well, no more fireworks? They would be soothing after the excitements of Lady Viola's audience. Have her then, but you're a lordly fool. She's been plucked since I saw her last, and not by you. Takes a woman to know it.
there's a film audience turning up to see her in All's Well That Ends Well because it's Judi Dench.